Good morning. Good morning. I have a question for you. Which is more important to you, the peace of God or your misery? One would think. One would think. One would think that the peace of God would be more important. Both, yes, I know both are important, but one is always going to take priority over the other. And I am the one that decides what's going to take the priority for me. You know, I learned with cigarettes and stuff, I only had to not want to smoke more than I wanted to smoke in order to not smoke cigarettes. It wasn't that I had to get rid of wanting to smoke cigarettes, but I had to not want to more than. And it's the same thing with everything. Do what's more important, what's more valuable to you, your misery or the peace of God, the peace of life, the truth. And truth with a capital T, that which has no opposite. Lee, I'm getting a little feedback here, a little ring. This week, who's reading the book now? I've seen more for sale. I've seen that more have sold in the bookstore, so it tells me some more people are reading that. We are up to week 8 of 10 of the Prosperity's 10 Commandments.
He says pointedly.
Yes, that's my job. It's my job to continuously remind you of what's possible. Because you see, it's my job to continuously remind me of what's possible. In that prayer today, in that meditation, I did realize that as God is for me, nothing is against me. So all those people that may seem like they're from hell are actually, they've got to be my friends. They've got to be my angels to awaken me. All situations that seem like it's out to persecute me has to be for my awakening. It's the only logical conclusion of life. It is the only, because evil cannot be a reality. It just can't be. It can be an appearance, but not a reality. And the reason it can't be a reality is because it will change. And anything that can change is not a reality. You see, with any situation that's coming up, you know, it's like the old story about the man. It's an old story about a man on a farm, and so one day a stray horse comes running up to the farm. Many of you, I'm sure, know this story. And the man said, "Oh, look how much God loves me. I've got a horse. I've got a horse. Isn't this fantastic? I've got a horse." And his son learns how to ride the horse. And then one day his son falls off and breaks his leg, and God says, "Oh, what a terrible horse. Look how awful my life is. My son broke his leg. What a terrible thing." And then his son goes, the draft comes up, and they won't draft his son because he had a broken leg and it's damaged. And he says, "Oh, God loves me so much, sent this horse to break my son's leg too." You know, so, you know, and we look at all of that stuff. None of it's either good or bad. It's just what I feel about it. I have many opinions about life and living. And I was going to say, I don't know much about life, but I know what I like. And what I like isn't always what will help to awaken me, unless I'm willing to use that. And when I say awaken, what I'm talking about is to be aware of the good that I am, to even be aware of the good that you are. And I don't have to fear losing that. I don't have to fear loss ever. This week's commandment is, we shall not seek something for nothing. And as a kid, I thought I got away with a bunch of stuff because I didn't get caught. So I thought I got something for nothing because I didn't know better. But I didn't get something for nothing because I was saddled with a secret. I was saddled with hundreds of secrets. Secret after secret after secret. And so, as a little boy, I was in hell. Isn't that nice? 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, in hell. Because I had secrets. And then I had adults to help me with those secrets. You know, don't tell your grandfather. There was that one. There's the, it's okay to lie for me, but not to me. You know, that's always a crowd pleaser in a family. At least my family.
Oh, God.
Yes, I will. You know, don't tell your stepfather this. But how could you ever lie to me? It's like, well, I'm either a liar or I'm not. But it does, you know, though I've worked my way through all that. But it's the crazy-making stuff. Am I going to continue that behavior into adult? Thou shalt not seek nothing. We shall not seek something for nothing. And what that really comes down to is, I'm trying to get wealth. Wealth of consciousness without developing the consciousness. I'm trying to get wealth in the physical world. I'm trying to get people to bend to my will so I can be comfortable, so life will be convenient. I'm trying to get healthy and wealthy without developing the consciousness. I'm not seeking God in the proper way. What I'm usually doing is asking God to do it for me, but I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change my mind about those that I hate. I'm not going to change my mind about what's wrong in the world. I'm not even going to consider that maybe I've been wrong. But God, why aren't you doing this for me? God, I'm a good person. I do for other people. And that's not changing your consciousness. That's just trying to bargain. So much of what we try to get from God is a bargaining factor. And there is no bargaining with God. You see, God is law. God is principle. And so I must live in principle. I must live within the law if I wish to demonstrate. Now, in this chapter, which all of you have read, you'll remember that it says that some people seem to get something for nothing. We see other people who seem to just treat the world abominably, and yet they get money, and yet they get stuff. What's that about? Well, it's because they don't have a lack thought around money. So they can have piles of money, but money is not the solution. Money is not the solution to my happiness or my comfort or any of that. All that means is they don't have lack thoughts when it comes to money, so they can have a bunch of cash. And some of us would settle for that. Some of us will find, how do I get rid of my lack thoughts? Because I need cash. It doesn't matter that I still haven't awakened, because I'm still trying to make this the reality instead of realizing this is a temporary thing. But I read this, for those of you who feel you just give and give and give, and you don't get anything back. I really enjoyed what she said here. For one thing, bewildered people who find themselves in the position of giving their best and receiving no adequate return need to learn to accept God as the only source of supply. See, as long as I'm looking to you to be my source of supply, and you and you and you and you, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm up for some disappointment. Because not only am I looking for you to be the source of supply, I have to then train you on what that source of supply needs to look like. And what if you don't agree? What if you're not up to the task? Then over here I am. I give and I give and I give and I just can't get it back. I don't give to get back. I give because I have. That's the only reason to give, is because we have. But to live in the full circle of the law, the fulfillment of the law, we must be joyful receivers as well. And so, to consult with God, and God, to really desire God's best rather than people's best, then you start to become a joyful receiver. Things start to happen. Suddenly you're invited to theater. Suddenly you're taken to lunch. Suddenly, a pile of cash is left on your doorstep. Things happen. One person said to me not too long ago, they said, I just don't understand. I give, I tithe, I do everything, and there's no money. And then a few days later they came to me and said, oh, I didn't realize there's plenty of money. It's just going through my fingers so fast. I didn't take the time to notice it. I didn't take the time to appreciate it. I recently read in some book, kiss it goodbye so it'll come back. Oh. Kiss your money as it goes out so it'll come back to you. But it's about appreciating the money, appreciating the events, appreciating the life. Because when we think we are getting something for nothing, we are self-deceived. So many of us are really attached to our guilt. Just really attached to our guilt, as if we don't deserve all of the good. All of the good. We all deserve, no matter how horribly we have behaved, we all deserve our good because it's our inheritance. God didn't say, you have to treat me like this to get your inheritance. However, within law, you need to be aware of the law in order to be aware of your inheritance. But the inheritance isn't being withheld by anything outside of you or anyone outside of you. And I have some friends who have been treated what we would call really poorly by their family. I mean, really withheld. I have a good friend who was just treated so awfully from the day she was born right up to the day her mother died and left her out of a multi-million-dollar will. She put her brothers in, but not her. And I mean, and it's crazy. And she went to her brother and said, we have to deal with this. He said, well, here, I have this silver tea set of hers. You can have that. Now, that's the stuff to send us over the edge. To think God is not good. To not think, but if God is my supply and not my mother, not my father, not my brothers, if God is my only source and supply, then I don't need what I consider theirs. Because that's the thing, I'm trying to get what is theirs to be mine. And that's my confused thinking, rather than accepting what is mine. If you go around your house and you begin to appreciate everything in it, bless it all. Bless the carpet. Bless the wood floor. If you don't have a carpet, bless the doors. Bless the ceilings. Don't except for, I bless this ceiling except the crack in it. No, that's not. You bless the ceiling. You bless your life. You bless your shoes, no matter what condition they're in. You bless your skirt or your pants. You bless your shirt. You bless your top. You bless your hair, what's left of it. You bless your head. You bless your brain. You bless your hands. You bless what you have, even if you don't understand them. That's how you will begin to develop a God consciousness. And you won't be seeking something for nothing any longer, because you will be seeking to know yourself as God. You will be seeking to know your home as God. You will be seeking to know your money as God. You will be seeking to know everything in the physical world as merely a representation of God. That's a Course in Miracles. I love how it says that forgiveness is our primary function, and there's a reason for that. The reason we want to, it's imperative, and it's only in this physical world that we practice forgiveness, because there's no need for it later. There's no need for it. But in the awakening process, we must practice forgiveness because we must realize there is nothing wrong. It is imperative to realize there is nothing wrong. For as long as we think there is something wrong, we will continue to experience something as wrong. We'll continue to experience war. We'll continue to experience lack. We'll continue to experience contention. We'll continue to experience what is a temporary blip on an otherwise brilliant existence. You see, our existence in this physical body can be brilliant, and it can be shining all the time. But it would take a new thought. It would take seeking something for something. It would take seeking to know the good because I am aware of the good. It would take seeking to experience the good because I'm aware that good exists. It would take knowing and being willing for the beauty of the earth. So am I supposed to be mad at the litter bugs? I think, my earth is beautiful. Well, it's not so beautiful if I'm mad at people all the time. And my life isn't such a great experience if I'm always wondering where I'm going to get mine. I already have mine. The prodigal son, he asked for what he believed was his. But he didn't ask for the consciousness to know what to do with it. And so what did he do? He wasted it. He threw it away on a good time, not knowing that there was even more where the first good came from. There was an abundant amount more of where the good first came from, but he had to go through his experience, his awakening experience, which often isn't pretty. I don't know what some of the stuff you've been through. I know what some of the stuff I've been through, and it wasn't pretty at the time, but it led to prettiness. And so that prodigal son, he wasted it on fun, but without the consciousness to know how to have the fun, the stewardship, because our good, we can have a lot of fun with our good, but it's almost as if we're trying to get rid of it. Sometimes we're taking our good, and why do you think lottery winners so often have so many problems and end up in debt? Because they haven't sought to develop the consciousness of what to do with the wealth that they begged for. And so they felt they got something for nothing. And so they've got to get rid of it as fast as possible. Let me give it away. I remember a woman early on in my sobriety, a woman who had about 100 years in sobriety, said to me one day, she said, Shawn, if you suddenly got everything you wanted, you wouldn't know what to do with it, and you'd have to give it away. Because you'd be too confused with it all. Do we know one of my favorite stories about the two little boys in the science experience? Oh, it's one of my favorite. I love this story. And one boy is given all the latest toys, all the latest computer games, video games, everything. And he is put in this room to play to his heart's content with it. And the other little boy is put in a room that is up to his chest in horse manure. Well, a couple hours later, they go back, and the little boy who's been given all the toys and games, he's sitting in the middle of the room crying. The toys are broken. He didn't know what to do. They get down the hall, and the other little boy, he's laughing, and he's jumping around, and he's just having the best time. And they say, what happened? He said, with all this horse manure, there's got to be a pony here somewhere. It's an old story, but it's like, with all of this misery in life, there's got to be God here somewhere. There's got to be good here somewhere that I'm just not seeing, or I'm just not willing to see. With everything that I don't like about my life, God has to still be in it. There's a reason why we come here every week and I ask God to sing, all good, holy, holy. There's a reason we sing almost every single song. Can I tell your story from a couple weeks ago? What happened here? Your answered prayer? Yes, you.
Sure, yeah.
It was 2 or 3 weeks ago we were here, and what I asked everybody to do in the meditation was go in and ask what you're doing right. In the silence, find out what you're doing right, And Lucy said that she went in and she said, in that little bit of time saying, I need to know what I'm doing right here. How I am doing things. And she said she wasn't really hearing anything. And she said, but I need to hear loud. I need to hear loud and clear. And she heard some mumblings from Spirit that said, well, you're going to change, you're flexible. You're this, and so, okay, and then I ended the meditation. And right after that, Scott got up and sang, I am changing. That was the solo that day. She got her answer. Because after she asked. But ask being willing to hear. And not telling God how. I need to hear loud and clear. Edwene talks about that in her books. God, I need a definite sign. Not just a vague sign. But you see, it's not just about God's got to do it. It's about I am willing. That's really what Edwene is saying. I am willing to get a definite sign, and I'm not going to settle for less. And so she will hold out and wait for the definite sign rather than telling God, why didn't you give me a better sign? Telling her child, why don't you fix this? Telling other people, why don't you fix this? One of my favorite stories of Edwene's is when early on, she was going to this church. She was in ministerial school, so she knew it all. And she went to this church and she said, John, this place could be run so much better. These bathrooms just really aren't clean enough, and the music, and this and that. As she says, he was kind enough to me to speak to me in this way. And he said, Edwin, the highest order of the day for you is don't bitch. And she walked out in a huff, but she knew he was right. Because if I'm busy complaining, I'm not hearing God tell me how loved I am. And if I'm busy complaining, I'm not telling me how lovable, how worthy of love I am. And if I'm trying to get you to change, I'm not beholding the Christ in you. I'm trying to get something for nothing and wondering why I'm getting nothing. Even when I get the thing I want, the thing I begged for, I'm wondering why it's a hollow victory, why I don't know what to do with it. As I said, if I'm trying to skip steps, and I've said this so many times, if I'm here and I want to think there's where it's at, and I'm trying to hop over to here, what I've missed out on is this step, and this step, and this step. And so by the time I get here, I don't have a clue as to what to do with this. But from back here, I am willing to see what there is like. But I'm willing to be here, and I'm willing to be here, and I'm willing to be here, and I'm willing to be here. And finally, one day I wake up and realize there is no there. There was never a there. I'm always going to be here. Wherever I am, here is. Wherever I am. So what consciousness am I willing to behold? Here, and here, and here. Now I'm going to tell you all something. I don't know who all needed this talk today, except for me. I needed this talk today. When Maria so beautifully introduced that prayer segment today and gave it that, and I thought, oh, Christ through me is student and teacher. But Christ through you is student and teacher. And Christ through you is student and teacher. And you and you and you and you and you and you. All student and teacher, all at the same time. Every single one of us. None of us should ever negate that we are teaching our belief in God all the time. Are you aware of that? That at every moment and in every conversation, you are teaching what you believe in God today. And so, the next time you open your mouth, you might want to ask yourself, just before, is this the faith that I wish to teach today? Is this how I wish to expose my faith? It's one thing to ask, I'm having troubles, or say to another, you come to me and say, I'm having a hard time believing today. That's honest. But that's also saying, I want to believe. I want to believe, but I'm believing the illusion more than the reality. That's a desire to grow. That's being both a teacher and a student of faith. That's saying my faith really is in God, but I'm having a hard time demonstrating it. But it's another thing entirely to go on and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You should treat me differently. You're wrong for treating me this way, and you're wrong for doing it, and how dare you, and this world, and the politicians, and everything. That's trying to get something for nothing. That's trying to get them to change without you having the consciousness to know what to do with it if they did change. How many people here have actually gotten a change in the universe and then you went and found something else wrong? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too. Fix this. Okay, now what's wrong? Okay, now what's wrong? And so I didn't even take time to say, thank you, God, that I could see clearly because I'm so busy looking for what's wrong. I have a big trouble with the peacemakers of the world because if we actually got peace, they'd be out of a job.
Yeah.
We don't make peace. We allow ourselves to see it. We allow ourselves to experience it. This is a fantastic world, and I, for one, want to see it. And sometimes where I notice my faith is leading, I'm having troubles seeing what a wonderful world this is, what a wonderful life this is. That we can all live like we're on vacation all of the time. When we go to work, when we go to play, when we go home, we can do interesting things and have interesting conversations instead of what's wrong. Let's talk about what's right. Let's talk about what's right in our lives. things. Even if it's something that's troubling us, to admit, this is exactly where it ought to be right now. I don't understand it, but it is exactly the way it ought to be right now. It couldn't be any other way according to my consciousness. And so therefore it is the precious gift of God. And the little soul in the sun, a wonderful book many of you have heard, God says, I've sent you nothing but angels. Nothing. Start receiving those angels into your life. But remember, you're an angel being received. Congratulations.